Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon dose of Big Brother 22 All-Stars live feed spoilers. We are a matter of hours away now from the Wednesday episode. Otev being seen on screen.
Can't wait.
And then tomorrow, the Triple Eviction is there. Or is it sooner? What's going on here? The thing is that there's a lot of people in this house at the moment who are just all kind of like, I'm ready to go, and then nothing happens, and then they're like, I'm ready to go again, and everyone's just like frozen in this weird sort of stasis.
That video from Dr. Will has caused chaos.
The thing is, it's also caused chaos for us, because it is sort of like what's the point of hyping up powers and prizes and all these interviews and all this other stuff if this is just for the Triple Eviction and nothing else? Why the false hope, Will?
I'm alright with it. Give me Triple Eviction. Fill it with powers. Fill it with prizes. Give me the best 2 hours of the season. I will take it. I am here for it. We've been here through this whole ride. It's been a little dry, but I'm feeling like Thursday you can just pack it all in 2 hours.
I really hope. We all need something collectively at this point, but
I'm feeling positive. Something's gonna happen.
Unicorn Land, we're going. We're doing it. Before we dive into anything else here, though, because we do have a number of things to talk through, if you guys do like this discussion, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and support us further. Check those links to the store as well as our Patreon.
All right, so it still looks like Kevin is going.
Yeah.
We'll start with that.
That has not changed.
That has not changed, but it was kind of interesting that Kevin was talking a bit about his experience this season, and like a lot of us, sort of feeling like the season's a little dry, a little predictable, a little off. His experience, he's saying that is terrible. He's having a terrible time there, and in some ways I get it. You know, he came into the house full of expectations and unicorns and everything was going to be amazing, and he was going to have allies and be able to really play the game, and he just came in, went on the block right away, didn't really have any allies. The few he did, he ended up burning them. Like, he made some mistakes, and then some of it was just kind of where everything fell.
You could argue that this season in a lot of ways is sort of like a microcosm towards expectations versus reality, because, you know, going into this All-Star season, I think a lot of us were like, yes, this is our time. We're going to see all these great players play again. And then a lot of the people who we wanted to see aren't in the cast, and then the game itself is really predictable. And it is all kind of a reminder of sometimes the idea is much better than the execution, and I love newbie seasons just because they're all completely just unaware of everything related to the experience. They're not trained for it. And there's chaos because of that. And these people are also self-aware in a lot of ways. It's not as much fun, and I'm not having the same experience that Kevin is having, obviously.
No. Yeah, there are a different set of expectations going into this, and it's sort of like, I guess my comparison is a little bit of like Bachelor and the Bachelor franchise.
Yeah.
A lot of people go onto this season thinking like, yeah, of course, I'm here for love, and I'm here for the fun, and I'm here for the experience, but I'm also here for Instagram followers. I'm also here to build my social media, sell my whatever. Like, it is part of the reality experience now. Now we're into Big Brother, and it is here as well. We have Tyler has his jewelry, Nicole has her podcast and her social influencer stuff. Nicole Anthony also came on with her podcast. There's a lot of people have other stuff going on, and they're not just here for the money. The money's important, obviously. They're here to play, but they also have a reputation outside the house now. They already have a built-in fan base, and they're already doing things online as part of their own brand.
It's just like Cody said something yesterday that sort of just makes me want to pound my head against the wall with some of this, and talking a little bit about how he intentionally plays dumb in the diary room because that means more TV time, and more TV time basically means he gets more attention, more Instagram followers, or whatever you want to say, support from the outside world. Like, so much of this season, I think in people's brains, is a lot about this, and we've seen people like Nicole act with optics in mind, and it's just, I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point again where it was with Kevin in Big Brother 11 where people were just like screaming and fighting and it felt a lot more ridiculous because I think people were less sort of like, oh, I gotta make sure I can sell some like gummies that make you lose weight or get your hair or whatever after the fact.
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear Cody actually admit that he plays up a bit of the dumb persona to build up a following online. And we've seen over the years that other people have done the exact same thing even before, you know, major reality TV was really going strong, with people like Paris Hilton, who's played dumb for, you know, a decade, and then it's come out, you know, of course, that she's not dumb. She is just normal and isn't quite as dumb to be like, oh, what's a Walmart? And it's like, okay, she does know what that is, but it totally worked and she turned into a huge brand. And Cody is kind of like, hey, if she can do it, I can do it kind of thing. And here we are. So this show is very self-aware. The cast is very self-aware.
When it comes to the vote, Kevin, I think a lot of his frustrations are also just the fact that people don't want to play with him. And, you know, he still has been trying to campaign. I mean, he talked really overnight for hours with ENZO, which I think is another good way for ENZO to keep building up that social game and get a jury vote, if nothing else. But, you know, Memphis basically straight up told him that he's not getting his vote, so that's just totally off the table now.
Yeah, and it seems that Kevin is of the mindset that he is appreciative of people who are just being honest with him, because people like Nicole are still playing the game, more of a like, oh, we don't know, we'll see where it goes, we'll, you know, try your best, the normal stuff, where then we've got Memphis in this other corner being like, nah, man, you're going.
Once again, this is like the second time I've said this week about Memphis, is that there is something weirdly counterintuitive about just how like irritable and grumpy he is sometimes, and I think because it benefits you to a certain extent in a house of a bunch of people doing one thing if you're doing the other thing, and I think Memphis is kind of zagging where other people are zigging. Like Nicole is being, I don't want to say fake, because I think that's too harsh a term with it, but I think she's being so guarded and too careful and trying to make sure she gets jury votes, but I think it comes across as inauthentic after the fact.
Yeah, it can. It just depends on how you sell it. If, you know, you're an ENZO and you're like, yo, that's it, we're figuring it out, he is coming across as really genuine.
Yeah, it all depends on that sell, and I think ENZO just does a better job of selling it than someone like Nicole does. But Kevin's still trying. David has still been doing his thing. I don't foresee a way in which things change, but even if David stays, there's still, unfortunately, David's still going to be targeted by people. We have to sort of continue to be aware of this amidst our David chance.
Actually, somebody mentioned this in the comments, and this was a really good point that was brought up about David, because David has been playing this game where he's like pretending that he's never seen any of the shows before. And I say pretending because he has dropped a couple of things here and there where he's like, he'll mention Derek or Derek's season or something. It's like, I thought you haven't seen anything. And there's a couple people that are kind of picking up on stuff like that. But he had a conversation with Danny where his pitch was, I want to stay because I want to see the table get smaller. And she was like, that's your pitch? Come back to me when you have something else. And for some reason, she didn't pick up on the fact that he would have had to have seen the show to know that this table gets smaller.
And if nothing else, like, he would have to have at least had, like, diehard superfan conversations with people to know, because, you know, I don't know if casual viewers really pay attention to the table size and stuff like that. David may be a little bit of a savant here. David may also just be a little, I don't think I'm ever going to understand David. Like, let's make that part of this clear right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing a little bit too sort of under the radar of, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on, what's a veto, but I know about this table getting smaller. And for some reason, he's just coming across that nobody's taking anything he says seriously, even when he's dropping things that should be looked at. That should have been something that Danny caught onto, or anybody in the house. This is where we got to talk about ENZO, because it seems a little bit like one of the possible mistakes he's making is that he's kind of coming across as clueless to a couple of people in the house.
Namely, Nicole and Danny. Like, they had this talk where they've sort of gone through about how they're trying to push, David to go after Memphis, and that's the easiest conclusion, obviously, for them to draw with that. But they are also talking a little bit about ENZO and where he lies in the game, and this... As much as I adore ENZO, that's it. I think you can do it, ENZO. It is what it is with them, but don't worry. No, ENZO, he's got to work on trying to find a way to continue to hold the place that he has in the game where he's not an immediate target, but also be able to articulate later, I was in on stuff the whole time, and it's your guys' fault for not being aware of it. And that's not always the easiest sell to make to people.
Yeah, because we've used this example before, but Godfrey played a game that wasn't as similar to ENZO, but he played that sort of game of like, I don't know what's going on, whatever, and then wasn't able to actually be like, haha, guess what? I know everything that's going on at the end. Everyone was like, we just don't believe you. We've lived with you all this time. We just don't buy it. But the thing with ENZO is that even though maybe Nicole and Danny are kind of like, I think he might be kind of clueless. He doesn't know what's going on. What is with ENZO? There are people in this house that do know that ENZO knows exactly what is going on, because Cody knows, Memphis knows. Like, there are people he is working with. He worked with Christmas for a while that do know it. So if he does make that argument at the end, he's got to hope that some of those people, if they go to jury, will be like, oh man, you guys don't even know how ENZO's been playing everybody. Or at the very least, he'll be able to make that argument, and there will be people on the jury that will be like, oh yeah, he's great.
First things first, we need to go back in time and find a way to put Godfrey and Ica from Big Brother Canada on this season and take off some of the US people.
Yep.
Let's have the cross-country Big Brother, everyone. But ENZO... he needs to find a way to have some people over there who can preach his messages, and maybe people like a Kevin can to some extent. It's all kind of hard to say for sure, but my favorite part of the past little while, these 16 hours or so, is that everyone seems to be so, worried that an eviction is coming along at any given second. Like, there were people last night, legitimately, who dressed up and were basically hanging out in the living room thinking that Julie was gonna come on at any given moment and announce a surprise, thanks to Dr. Will yesterday.
It is great that that message came in, and it has caused this kind of chaos and paranoia. Like, I know that there are people that are upset that maybe he gave away too much, and people are figuring out a lot more than they should be figuring out from it. And that's fine. CBS wants to ruin their own surprise. Have at it. It's your show to ruin. It's your twist to ruin. But it has been really entertaining to see that type of stuff where people just don't know what's going on. So they're like, oh, we'll just be ready for anything. Let's all sit around in our gowns.
This is the thing that I'm kind of hoping for, because... we still have this neighbor's house part of all of this, and we don't know how that works. It may just be the setting for part of the triple eviction or anything else, but it would be great if, they think they figured this out. I've even heard the word Christmas in Memphis in a conversation use the word triple eviction, but it would be funny if that's all they kind of focus on, and then all of a sudden this other twist kind of comes in and they can't anticipate that at all. I do want there to be some element of surprise, but I also don't want to spend the next day or however long the feeds are up before they go down for all of this. I don't want to spend that time watching Kevin sleep or watching people do charades. I want to actually see a little bit of gameplay, a little bit of campaigning for the whatever limited time we even get feeds these days, because they cut out all the time.
And that's why I don't have as much of a problem with what Will has actually given them, because it has given them enough sort of information that if they are sitting there being like, okay, maybe there's a triple eviction. Well, what does that mean? Because the US hasn't had that. So unless they've watched the Canadian version, and who knows that it's going to be like that version, it could be something completely different, and maybe they have it play out in a different way. I want to see more of those conversations where people are sitting down being like, okay, if it's a triple, what does that mean? Does it mean that we get to evict one HOH evicts this many people, two evict this many people? Is it 1, 2, 3? What is it? And if it is, how are we going to play it out?
I think there's always a chance that somebody is going to overthink this too and like completely screw it up and not think about how it works or who's going to be eligible or whatever else. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff that they could be talking through over the next little while. I just will continue to hope that this is 2 separate HOH cycles and not one where one HOH gets to take out 2 people, because that's what they did on Big Brother Canada. I don't like it because it gives one person way too much power in the game.
Unless it's David.
With 2 of these in one video, we're really... See, the thing is, David, you are the person who can bring us at least the most excitement through a lot of this. It's just...
Yeah, I just don't know what you're going to do, David,
I
and
know.
I love that.
The thing is that I think a lot of us can sort of say, okay, the people most likely to be evicted, assuming Kevin goes first, are probably either Danny, Christmas, David, some combination of those 3. I at least hope that somewhere along the line we get some good blindside face, we get some good anger, frustration. Like, Christmas is going to be turned up if she goes on the block during all of this.
Yeah, she is. I'm just praying that this is going to be a chaotic 2 hours, that it's going to be just lots of fun. We don't know what's going on. Everything's just going to be crazy.
Well, we'll be back a little bit later to talk about the episode, but as we turn over to you guys, what do you think about the players starting to guess, or at least around the idea of a triple eviction? What do you think could happen? And really, do you think after seeing people this time around that really we are better with newbies, people who are less self-aware? Let us know in the comments, and if you do like this video, subscribe for more, hit that notification bell, give us a like, support us further, check those links to the store and our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.